Morning, Facebook land, world of internet. Hello, and welcome to today's panel discussion where I have three beautiful panelists with me to discuss the spiritual gym. My name is Alison Cotton and I am the facilitator of this beautiful discussion today, where I'm holding the space and the questions. So if you are watching live with us, and I can see that Reshma's joined us in the audience, good morning. As you join live with us, would you like to put a comment down as a hello, hashtag live, let us know you are here. We'd love to hear from you. So what is the spiritual gym? To me, the spiritual gym is just as important to, how can I put this? And I had this so well planned and it was all taken away from me. The spiritual gym. I believe that we go to the physical gym and we work out and we work out and we look beautiful in our physical bodies and we go, great, job done. What I don't think we do enough of is the spiritual gym, where we actually need to work on all four bodies of our consciousness so we can actually improve and regulate our nervous system and upgrade ourselves to that fifth dimension where the planet is moving to. We are moving into a heart-based world. So from that perspective, and this is a big global issue, which is why we're here today, is to talk about that mental health perspective. We don't value our mental health enough in the spiritual gym world. Right? We're more easily to stay on that third dimensional planet and go, right, I'm going to take the drug and that's going to keep me sober and that's going to keep me this and that's, and instead of looking at your four bodies of consciousness, your emotional health, your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health. And when you look at those, you get that intuitive guidance that gives you that consciousness of awareness going, right, this is where I need to head my body into. And that could be yoga. That could be just a meditation for your mental health. So I want to have a beautiful conversation today about these beautiful panelists. We have Heather, Jennifer, and Sue all joining us here today. So welcome, ladies. First, I will dive into Heather, and be kind, everyone. This is her first time. She's a learner. I really used to do that when we were, when you first get into a new job and they're like, when I was customer service, it was like the L plate was on the front of the desk and everyone used to be like, oh, you're new here. And it's like, yeah, be kind. So just giving you a little plug to thank you for joining us. First time, please be kind. But we love her all the same. Heather, who also loves to empower people with her knowledge, skills, and encourages them to listen to their own intuition to be able to support themselves. This conversation is so you. She has an innovative and unique way of seeing the world and how everything is connected. When she established her business as a naturopath in 2005 after working in the corporate world, she didn't want to compete with anyone in her industry. Amen to that. Heather wanted to be able to work with all aspects of a person's health team. She's a true believer in the power of transformation, and she has learned from personal experience that self-care is non-negotiable. I think you have just wrapped up the spiritual gym all in one little introduction, so thank you. Then we have our beautiful Jennifer Regular, who is known as the Soul Illuminator. Jennifer uses her incredible sense of intuition, insight to guide purpose-driven entrepreneurs to focus on the difference that they will make in alignment with their soul calling, while at the same time effectively managing their time and energy to prevent overwhelm. That is so powerfully important. She is an international speaker and author of Embrace Your Power, a healing journal of self-discovery, and the host of the Awaken and Ascend podcast. So thank you for being here, Jen. I love your energy. Thank you. And last but not least, Sue. Sue Rumack helps highly sensitive professionals who suffer with empathic sensitivities, sensory overwhelm, and spiritual confusion to rewrite how they negotiate the world in which they live. And so they take the back driver's seat and then begin to love that power and support that to have them make their lives their own. So very powerful work that Sue does here. Sue has been a professional life skills coach now for over 16 years, and she is a lifelong channeler of healing messages for mankind, an author of 5 channeled spiritual books and multiple handbooks and do-it-yourself manuals for managing personal and professional overwhelm. This is your gal to see. Sue's primary coaching focus is teaching the brain science. This is so important. That makes sense of empath overwhelm, as it implies and partners with the skills it takes to gently take back that control of your life. She has designed empath shielding basics using her unique use your words, Alison. Using her unique 6-step process, that is a tongue twister, that challenges lives using somatic brain retraining techniques. So, Sue, thank you. Welcome to everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Wow, what a powerful start. Let's open up with a question around the spiritual gem. Knowing everything about yourself and your life as it stands to the point of now, how important in the priority list is the spiritual gym work to you? Because I think this is a real conscious question in the sense of, do I do it or do I not do it currently? And I want to get us into the present moment of this conversation and looking at our own moment self of like, do I actually go to the gym off more than I should? So what's your priority here in the question? And I'd love to hear from you, Jennifer. We'll start with you.
Sure. Yes. Yes, I go to the gym on a regular basis. And it's just absolutely essential for me to be in that kind of practice, to engage in soul care, is that's what I call it.
I love
to
that.
really establish, a strong spirit. Because with a strong spirit, that's what stabilizes us, makes us solid, and makes it easier to recover when there's instability, when there's disruption, and when there's chaos. And as an empath, can experience that pretty much moment to moment.
On the reg.
Just about anything could throw me off balance. And so I learned from way early on that I needed to do something about that. Otherwise, I was going to make it very far. And so always been a seeker, a learner, a teacher, a guide, just cycling through that constantly. So it started for me really, really young. I actually had a grade 7 teacher that brought meditation into the classroom in the 80s. Was pretty new back then to bring that into the school. So I think that was a good start of where I started being guided in that. Nowadays, particularly I've done a lot of years of study in shamanism, for example, and we talk about the 4 spiritual powers of singing, dancing, nature, and sweet silence.
Nice.
And all of those practices, just like routines that we have in the gym, in the spiritual gym, we call them practices. And through repetition of daily practice of meditation, daily practice of going out in nature, movement through dance, for example, living joyfully, which gives us positive mental health balance as well. And singing, again, bringing that joy, bringing that spirit and strengthening that. So incorporating that into practice. And I do meet with my shamanic practice group once a month. I do daily journaling and practices. The connection with nature is probably where I most support myself in the spiritual gym, is being out in nature and having that connection, because that opens up the wonder and the reverence for life and really just supports my whole being through that. So there's many different practices. I'll share more as we go, but that's kind of my repertoire of what my routine or practices look like.
And I love what you said about, you found your sweet spot when it comes to the nurturing of your soul. Like being out in nature is just something that it's a non-negotiable amongst that work, right? Because without that connection, first and foremost, like you said, we cannot. They were just reminding me at the moment of the avatar tree. The minute you plug in, you see the entire tree, right? Whereas when you're just walking into it and not connecting and plugging in, you're only just sort of seeing the dullness of it, if that makes any sense.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I love that you found your sweet spot.
Thank you.
Sue, you're on mute, hun.
Now I'm not. Okay. So first of all, I've got to tell you, I had never thought of the concept of a spiritual gym until you mentioned it, Allison. And then I thought to myself, well, what is it? And then you explained it in very simple terms. And I thought to myself, yeah, that's exactly what I do and what I teach people to do every day. But I never thought of it as being a gym practice. Okay. So for me, if you're asking what my spiritual practice is, I basically speak to my guides daily. Okay. It doesn't matter. They connect whatever time they feel like connecting. Sometimes I'm in the middle of a session.
They really have no time concept, do they?
No, they have no time concept and they have no respect for my time. But I love them anyway, because whatever they bring me is timely. Doesn't matter what time is delivered. So connecting with my spirit guides, talking to my people will say, talk to your soul, talk to your heart. Don't talk to your brain if you want to connect spiritually. Talk to your heart, because that's going to get you there. So if you talk to your heart once a day, you're doing spiritual gym.
Correct.
If you connect with nature in any way, it could be gardening inside your home in a pot.
Yeah.
You're still connecting with earth and green and oxygen, and you're connecting with the spirit, the living spirit. Doesn't matter. You don't have to. I mean, my favorite place is walking in nature. But if I can't get out into nature, I'll work with wood. I love making walking sticks and meditation wands and that kind of thing. I work with crystals. I work with earth elements. So it doesn't matter how you're getting into nature, as long as you're touching something that is of nature, comes from nature, and will connect you energetically through its own vibration back to nature. So that's the spiritual. That's the natural elements. And then there's the physical. If we don't take care of our bodies, we can't.
World.
Exactly. We can't continue living in this world. But if we don't take care of our bodies, we are at a deficit trying to connect on all the other levels. It's too hard to break through to the other levels. The veil is too thick. When you're speaking through heart, when you're working with natural elements, the veil gets thinner, which means that you can connect more easily. And what comes through is more authentic. It's more real. And you feel it's real. You feel it in the cells of your body. So when you're working with your body, it's really important to get to that somatic place, the feeling place. And if you've got issues in your life, what you're going to ask your body is, what am I missing here? And you ask your heart, it goes to your brainstem, it goes up to your brain, it goes to your amygdala. Your amygdala has all the stories of your life. It tells you the story. And then you go back and go, oh, that's what I was missing. So really taking care of your body in whatever way you have to get it healthy, connecting with the natural elements, whatever way is easiest. And it doesn't have to be a prescribed rule, just as long as you do it in your own way, and talking to your heart every day, just connecting with source, connecting through spirit. It doesn't have to be difficult. It just has to be consistent.
And I love that they're in that consistency is like the massive, the first and foremost, before consistency comes commitment, of course, which I want to dive into a little bit once we've talked to Heather. But there's this, yes, there is consistency. Nothing changes without consistency, no matter how much you will it to happen.
And isn't that what a gym experience is all about, is consistency?
Correct. Enjoying the experience.
Yes.
You know, people, I mean, and we know this, scientific fact has shown us that we go to the gym, we work out, there's endorphins that happen in our body that make us go, I feel good. The same thing happens when we go to nature, or when we go for a swim, or when we just water the plants and say hi. Like there is a endorphin release that gives us the same hit.
Would you like to know the simplest thing I do every day?
I would love to know.
Simplest thing to get that out of. Okay. So I get up in the morning, I do the few things I need to do to get ready. Right now I'm on a medications thing, so I take the medications, I do my little tiny bit of breakfast, and then I take off my socks. I have a wooden floor. I take off my socks and I actually walk for 15 minutes around my living room on the wooden floor to music, fast, busy music. Sometimes I'll jog a little bit. Sometimes I'll walk fast. Sometimes I'll use a little bit of weights in my hands. But what I'm doing is I'm connecting both with the wooden floor and with that endorphin hit of 15. It's only 15 minutes.
Doesn't take long.
It doesn't. And I'm set up for the next 3 or 4 hours. I could be coaching, I could be meeting with people, I could be doing anything, but I need that 15 minutes of connection to get my body set up, ready and prepared for the rest of the day. If I don't do that, 15 minutes of just, it's walking. All I do is walking around my living room.
I have a segue into that. Yeah.
Go ahead. It's all yours.
I will segue into that once we've heard from Heather, because I'd love to hear her priorities too.
I think we've got a bit of a theme. Can anybody guess what it is? Happy nature. Nature animals also for me are large in this world. And there's a couple of things that go on with animals. There's coherence that takes place. So if they're in a good place or I'm in a good place, we're gonna have that heart coherence through the heart math world, which is fascinating. If people don't know what heart math is, check it out. It's a beautiful little,
brilliant.
Yeah, beautiful little rabbit hole. Lately I've gotten into more vagus nerve work, which is the somatic stuff that Sue's talking about. And there's simple techniques that just can tune that up delightfully, that I've been incorporating more, especially in the last 3 years of chaos, just to help bring my nervous system to the present moment more. I've also been incorporating more Feldenkrais from a physical as well as the somatic side of that too. And I am always kind of aware of my intuitive senses, whether or not there's energy that needs to move through, whether I need to simply be, like I'm constantly listening to what is the rhythm that's needed. So whether it's an intuitive hit of listening to a particular type of music, or whether it's to get outside, whether it's to stay laying in my bed, I'm very aware of what is it that my body and my spirit needs in order, even emotionally. Do I need a bath? Like every day it's a practice of just taking the time to listen how my messages come through or how my body speaks to me. And that, I think, is what probably has been the best medicine, is just prioritizing and taking the time to honor the requests of those 4 different things.
Absolutely.
Because life is super busy for many people, and if they can eke out any amount of time where they are the priority, listening to what their body's requesting, or what their spirit's requesting, or what their soul's requesting, emotionally what they need, if they can honor it one piece at a time, even just like putting a puzzle together, because sometimes it's overwhelming.
One piece, walk away. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, because it can be super, especially if, like we talked a little bit before about the mental health side of things, the mental health world can be just straight up overwhelm. And so to think that you've got to do the whole puzzle, like if that was a puzzle, it would be like, no, I'm just not starting. So if you can just do one thing,
that's
one way
exactly
you can honor
right.
yourself.
And make it a consistent action. It's like, I'm going to go outside every day with my feet on the ground with no shoes on or no socks on. Or I'm going to go hug a tree when I'm on my walk out in the middle of the city, because I know that grounding can be a real problem when you're in the city. There's a lot of concrete around, so it's really tough to sometimes get that full grounding. But there's a consistent key of doing one thing. You're correct. a day.
And it doesn't have to be the same thing, because not all brains work that way. And that's the overwhelm, is that they've made a commitment to the one thing that's the same, and it bores them, so they're going to stop. So just one thing that honors yourself. One thing. It doesn't.
That's a great takeaway, everyone. One thing. It doesn't matter what it is. And I find too that the more we listen to that spiritual aspect of our intuition, you know, in that consciousness of our body, we go, oh, well, today's a walk. No, today's a pool day. No, today's reading a book day. Oh, no, you've got to go camping this week. You've got to go camping this week. You've got to go. It's like you listening to that. And I love that. I really love listening to that rhythm, because I'm a firm believer that with our 4 bodies of consciousness, it starts in the spiritual realms, right? We get those intuitive nudges. Right, it comes in. Then the first thing in our physical experience is our brain goes, and what now? And so you pay attention to it. Then your heart goes, oh yeah, I really like that. That's your emotion part of it, your body. And then you've got to embody that entire download into the physical system.
Yeah.
Right, into the cells of your body, cellular memory, consistency, momentum, let's keep going and going, right? Life force energy, which is bringing me into the segue of the next question that Sue brought up for me. How do you build your energy up, or do you know how you function energetically when it comes to body consciousness, right? So as an example, for me, I am a 5 a.m. get-upper. This is just me, right? I'm a 5 a.m. get-upper, and I'm on, right? So I can get the coffee and I can do the thing, and I can keep going and going and going and building and building and building until I peak at around, I'm going to say 2. Some days it's later, some days it's earlier. So 2 is an average, right? And then I start to wind down. It's like I've got to do the slower things, start to prepare meals, start to want to sit down and just slow down for the evening, right? So I sort of know how I function energetically. That's going to create that consistency and momentum to keep going and going through the things that we are busy in doing. But yet my husband, who's a slow starter, he'll come up, and then he peaks like 11 o'clock. He'll start, and then he's like stays all the way to like 6, 7, 8 o'clock, and then he'll crash, right? So it's getting into that regulation of listening. So what must come in has got to go out the same way. In the universal law of cause and effect, right? What comes in must go out. So what you're bringing in, whether that's your mental health, if you get a beautiful download and it comes in, you're like, oh, no, I don't like that, but it's really timely for you, right? You're not going to be able to listen to that rhythm, and your energy, if you don't know how it functions in the sense of, you know, how you operate on a daily basis, is all going to come discombobulated, and it's going to feel real heavy. So my question is, getting back to the question, do you know how your engine runs through the day? And I use human design as a really good insight tool to measure, your frequency in that aspect. So question, do you know your human design chart and who you are and what you are, in the sense of what's your type and how you respond? And then also, how do you know how your energy operates? Let's start with you again, Heather.
As you were talking, I'm like, oh, human design.
Yes.
Like, that's totally. So I'm a manifestor generator.
Okay.
I go.
Are you option 1 or option 2 in my explanation, or a totally different one?
So I am a Nighthawk. But I'm a Nighthawk more if I don't expend that energy. So when I'm active in nature, when I'm working at the barn, like I did today for 3 hours this morning, then I have no problem going to bed at a regular hour. And I've had 3 burnouts in my corporate life. So my
Yes.
adrenals like to be
That is
flat.
definitely a discombobulation.
Yeah, that was corporate life. That was living in the whatever, do what everybody else wants to do, rat racy thing. So my adrenals, as I've aged, like to be flat between until about 8:30. I don't necessarily have to be asleep. I can be getting a whole bunch of intuitive downloads. That's a beautiful time for me between that 7 and 8 o'clock, that 5 and 8 o'clock. Sometimes I get up at 7. It just depends on, I just listen intuitively to what time I need to get up.
Yeah,
And
100%.
I live in a life that is fortunate that I'm not on somebody else's schedule. I don't see people until 11 o'clock in the morning. So I love my.
I want to go live with you.
Yes, I don't have kids, and if I have a dog, then I get up and we do stuff, go walk in the woods and that sort of thing. But right now I don't have one.
Come
but
into your house, and I'm bringing my dogs.
I hang out with the horses, so they have an early morning sometimes too. So it really, again, I just stay in that intuitive place. But the learning about the human design was fascinating to me because it explained so much about how I operate. And as soon as I get into that respond to my intuition place, then the energy can flow from a creative perspective. It can flow from a physical need to get out and make sure that I expend that energy during the day. I encourage anybody to do human design and go down all the rabbit holes, like all of them,
all of them,
channels.
I'd love for you to join the Aligned by Design tribe. I host the Human Design Aligned by Design tribe. You're more than welcome to come and experience it. We actually got another gathering next Thursday.
Oh, neat.
Now that you mention, yes, many rabbit holes of human design, but it is such an insightful insight. It's kind of like you look at you get a human design reading, or you read a piece of what is intuitively coming up for you right now, or you learn about your human design is the first point of action, but you sit there and you go, oh, and someone's reading it out to you, or you're reading it for yourself. You're like, no, that's not me. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, no, it's not. Yes, it is. You kind of got to own it in that moment. So
yeah,
be prepared to own though, and then when you own it, it's an amazing experience to transform into, yeah, that's actually me. I mean, how much of a manifesting generator piece do you own of yourself? Like, yeah, I've got the energy of life force. I can keep going and going like an Energizer bunny. I find a lot of people when they flow. Yeah, but then
only when I'm in the flow, because corporate world, I could not do the Energizer bunny from a sustainability perspective, because it was soul sucking in my world. So
that's correct. So that's when it's in your not congruent with that heart math. It's not your soul calling, right? Because corporate could be for some, and it is for a lot of people. But for me, I was in corporate too. I was selling insurance, and it was it was draining, right? And when you're not in that soulful energy, it's not life force. It's not life sustaining. And this is, the back to the important question of, like, if you know how you operate like you do, Heather, life becomes easy and flowing, and you just chill out and groove with it. I kind of just feels like that's the sensation of the flow, because
it is part of the gym to know yourself better, and to continue to keep getting to know yourself. I think that is a part of the gym.
It's part of the ascension path. It's moving into, that heart-based world of 5D that this planet is evoluting to. If evoluting is a word, I don't even know.
So that's my 2 bits.
Thank you. We could talk for hours, seriously. Sue, human design, do you know it? And your energy.
I do know of it. I've been around a while. I've done a lot of different I've explored a lot of different avenues about personality, my personality, and all of that.
Yeah.
And several years back, maybe 10, 12, Enneagram was big. And right. So, I mean, I did the Enneagram thingies, and I basically, it proved who I was to me. I already knew who I was. I'm an innovator, a creator, an energizer bunny, and a manifester. So, I mean, those aren't the letters from Enneagram, some of them, but they kind of follow along with what you're saying. And so that is who I am. Energizer bunny is definitely me. And as far as understanding how my energy works, what I would love to bring across is that at different times in our lives, in different situations, our energy levels change.
Correct.
And we have to be on board to recognize when they're beginning to do that little bit of a shift, and just watch to see where they're going. Don't try and direct them. See where they're going. Follow that flow. So what I've noticed is I've always been in the middle of the night. I get my messages. Heather gets hers in the early evening. I get mine at 3:37 at night. So I know that from 3:37 to maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be channeling. And that's just fine, because when I go back to sleep at 5:30 and wake up at whatever time I wake up, I am so energized. It's like, whoo, I've got the whole day ahead of me. This is amazing.
Which is why you do your routine of walking around on the earth and gather, and doing that. It's because it's and this is the heart of where I wanted to go with this, is having an awareness of what this looks like for you. But explaining what you do as your routine and what Heather does as her routine is just bringing the awareness in the conversation to take a look at it for yourself. If you're not aware of it, take a look.
And it's giving people permission to recognize that my process is not necessarily your process, and your process may be absolutely brilliant for you and give you exactly what you need. But if it doesn't give you what you need, it's time to take a step back and just observe and see, what could I change up? What could I try that's going to take me to another level? If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, I'll try another routine. But I don't have to marry myself to any one routine, because as I change, so does my energy level, so does my energy practice. And that's all I have to say on that.
I absolutely 1000% agree with all of that. In this, that's exactly, it's listening to our rhythm.
Yeah. Could I add one more quick thing?
Of course.
Okay. So over the past, I've come back to coaching. I was away from it for a couple of months, and I have come back to it now. Starting back with all my clients. And what I'm noticing is my clients are bringing to me that they're having trouble organizing their lives. They're kind of getting lost in their own process, and they need help to bring it all together, put it into a nice little package, and then begin to follow through on those packages. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if we're talking mental health right now, and we're talking about the spiritual gym, with regard to mental health, then maybe it's important for our listeners, our watchers, to understand that they also may be having trouble organizing their minds, simply because of all of the wild energy that's out there in the world, that's very discombobulating, that's very fracturing. Yeah. So, I mean, if they're having trouble getting organized, take that step back, start writing down, create a practice for yourself, and we can talk about that at another time. But well, I need to make turn for Jennifer, because otherwise I could take up your whole time.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jennifer.
Okay, well, tuning into our natural rhythms, that was something you mentioned, Allison, and that is something I found has always been a challenge for me, because I'm very much a sun up to sundown person. So I rise with the sun, I go down with the sun. That's not the way that society operates. And at different times of year, it certainly doesn't line up. And so it caused a lot of friction in going against my natural rhythms, the natural way of being, in order to operate out in the world and out in society and be in that flow. And at the same time, learning how I can still tune back into my own natural rhythms. How can I play with that? So if I can get to be out when the sun's rising or when it's setting, or be with the different lunar cycles, or be aware that when there's a lot of solar flare activity going on, that my mind's also going to be very active and I might not sleep very well. And so what can I do to support myself in that? So being aware of the different elements and frequencies that are at play, but also those rhythms are also important to know so that I can at least try to find a harmony within all of that, a way of entraining myself so that I can still vibe up, even if my energy is low or I have to, wake up before dawn or have to continue working after the sunset. Then how can I do that? So looking for things that help me to give me that little bit of more energy. That's not necessarily coffee, but maybe it's, actually taking a break or going out during that break or just taking a moment of silence, even if it just means it's closing the door in the washroom for a minute, right? And just shutting out the word, literally
Everybody
closing
go
the door
away.
for a minute. Yeah, or when you're in the shower and just letting, everything just wash away, just finding those moments throughout the day that can also be replenishing. What I also found during the day is the same as you, that, I can start out really early and I'll be all energized. And actually, for a good part of my life, my nickname was Genergizer. I always seem to go at that gear all the time. And then I'd go, 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 go until I crash. But then I'd keep going. But people had pointed out to me that you keep going and then like at 2-3 o'clock you like just crash. You just crash, and no matter where I was, what I was doing, that was the case. And there was one practitioner I was seeing, because I'm very much into energy work, so I keep up my energy too by having those sessions, going for treatments. This was a zero balance one, and I was mentioning it to her about this 2 o'clock thing, because even not having to adhere to any structured schedule anymore, because I'm not in the work world like I used to be, I still found around 2-3 o'clock I would crash. And then she said, on the Chinese biological clock, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock is your rest and digest time. See, Heather, and being a naturopath knows this, of course.
Of course.
So she said, just rest and digest. And I talk about resting, digesting all the time, but I tend to do it outside of 2 to 3 o'clock. So knowing this now created more awareness. I'm like, that's the best time to create that rest and digest. Process, integrate, to come back into unity. I mean, those are all things that support our mental and spiritual health as well.
And it's funny you say that, because in the corporate world, they used to say that, it used to be like snack o'clock around the 2:30, 3 o'clock, right? You used to get like the snack attack where your energy levels would start to plummet. And you feel this energetic drain of like, oh, I've got another 2 hours left. I'm so tired. Just suddenly it feels like a carbohydrate overload where your body just can't cope, right? And everyone used to say, go and grab a cup of tea. And they knew, it was just so funny that they knew that would be always go and grab a cup of tea. It's 2:30. Everyone sort of felt the same slump, but the rest and digest.
Yes.
Makes total sense now.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I do now is I set up part of my morning practices is reading through my guiding principles. So this is where it's like my operating system, right? So I go through, it's kind of like a cross between intention and affirmation, I guess you can say. That it's a guiding principle for how I'm going to approach the day in my life and stay in alignment with my mission and vision for the way I want to be living my life. And one of those phrases is I operate from joy. And so if I'm affirming that every day, that I operate from joy, then I'm even more attuned when I'm not. So as a generator by human design, I'm built to respond. And also when I'm not in that alignment and not operating from joy, then I've experienced frustration. And if I'm in that frustrated place, I'm, tight and rigid and hostile.
Don't even go there.
It's not a good place to be in. And that's also a clue. It's like, okay, I need to get back into I'm not in joy. I'm not operating from joy, which means I'm not being myself. I'm not being true to myself. I'm out of alignment. So then I need to come back to those practices, right? What's missing? Maybe I need downtime. Maybe I need that sweet silence that I mentioned earlier, or that time in nature, or singing or dancing or whatever it is. As we all said, there's so many different things that we could do. And we can think of that as a medicine bundle. That's how I think of it. You know, what kind of medicine do I need right now? What's going to support me so that I can operate from joy, that I
Yes.
can be in alignment with my natural rhythms.
Yes.
And so I ask myself that, and I do that inquiry and just maintaining that awareness.
I really love that too, because I found for myself personally that when I love Bikram yoga. I'm a hot yoga chick. So, you know, I know a lot of people are not, but I find that I do that. And the next day I wake up with more energy than I had the day before. And I'm like, how is that possible? I've just brutalized myself through this massive physical exertion. And here I have got more. The more frequently I go to yoga, the more energy I have. Right.
Yeah.
And so this works for me in the building momentum and consistency and increasing my capacity to receive more, because when your energy is stable and you feel that you can keep going, and it doesn't matter what type you are in your human design, you could be an absolute projector who needs a lot of sleep. But if you are in that zone of genius energetic framework where you've got that sustainable energy to keep going no matter what life throws at you, whether it's joy, chaos, or just nothing, you are, stable is just the word they're showing me. Now, I know we had a question from Reshma, and do we have any other questions at this stage? So if anyone would like to throw some questions out into the world, please do. But we're going to go into, because it's coming off the back of the last piece of information and conversation we've just had, is Reshma's asking, is there a way to figure out your energy rhythm? So for me, I would say yes, your human design is like the first point of action where I would be looking at if you had no idea what your human design chart is. When I discovered human design back in 2012, I basically asked the universe to help me out because I'd just become a single mum with 2 really young kids, and I was like, holy, how am I going to handle this? So I asked, I knew back then I needed to manage my energy in the most aligned way that I could be, you know, single mum, full-time worker, 2 young children, etc. So, and human design was shown to me that way. Once I found out that I was the generator, I then had to go to the next level. It's like this next level of ascension. What did that look like for me, and how did I operate? Right? You have probably got a very good awareness in your own self, and we'll continue the conversation in a second. But from my perspective here, you can see at age X that you are now, and this can go for everyone, you've got a pretty good awareness of what you like, what you don't like, the way you want to behave, the way you don't, the way you think perhaps, and maybe don't want to think anymore. But the key is that you kind of got an understanding of what your energy rhythm is now at a baseline. It's how you can improve that baseline to have more energy, to have more flow, to have more whatever it is that you're looking for. So Sue, I'd start with you. Do you have your own way of figuring out your energy rhythm?
Well, for me, basically, I watch my own rhythm. I watch my energy levels. So if I notice that my energy is getting really low, consistently over several weeks, I'm beginning to feel less effective, less connected, less aware of what's going on around me. Then I basically stop at that point and I do a little assessment. What's going on in my life? Who is in my life that might be sapping my energy? Because what happens with a lot of highly sensitive people, empaths, is that we pick up on what's going on in our environment around us. So we need to recognize who is in our lives that may be drawing on our energy for their needs, or who is just so loud that they need to be witnessed and validated. They're not trying to vampire your energy, but they are so loud that they basically overshadow your energy. They get into your cells, they get into your mind, they get into your body, not intentionally, but because they just they're so needy. So take a look and see who's around you that it may be a relative, it may be somebody who's ill, it may be a coworker, it may be your lover, it could be your husband, it could be your kids, it could be pretty well anybody.
Yeah, but so figuring out your energetic rhythm in the sense of, you know, the flow. So we've worked out work out the toxic people.
All right. So
what would be the next step?
The next step would be how you create your quantum energy barrier that recognizes them, validates them, but says, no, this is not getting in. And that's something that I teach people. But if you're looking at regulating your energy, first of all, you have to start with yourself. Yeah. What am I doing to support myself? What am I not doing to support myself? How am I not taking care of myself?
Find that baseline. Exactly.
Find that baseline. Start with yourself first. If you've done everything you can to settle where you're at, then you have to look outside yourself. But most people, in most cases, will find that there is something that they're not doing that supports themselves. And it could be that they've got some old guilt. It could be some unfinished business. It could be anything that's drawing away from them being an open vessel to receive all the good stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And journaling is really a good way of watching what you're doing over a 2 or 3 or 4 week period. If you journal every day and just put down, how am I feeling today? At noon, what's going on in my life today? At night, how am I feeling tonight? And you can see how your energy ebbs and flows throughout the day, which is what Jennifer was talking about, what Heather was talking about, and what you're talking about. It's just a very simple process. If you don't know human design and you're not ready to go there yet, or you don't know how to go there yet, but of course we go to Allison for that. But in general, the easiest way is to start journaling. Just keep a track of your day, your 24-hour day. Notice how you're sleeping. Is your sleep disturbed? How are you eating? So I mean, basically, yeah.
Thank you for those real practical steps there. That they're very helpful for our listeners, I'm certain, because it's really like there is a getting knee deep. It kind of feels like this getting knee deep in our own stuff to work this out. Like you have to be, and I think, you know, with any transformation, it doesn't matter what you're doing or where you're going, there's a transformation in a lot of things, and until you see the light of it, and then you go, oh, you know, you have your aha moment. But working out, like, you have to get into the thick of it. You have to it's like anything. If you want to know yourself better, if you want to understand why you think the way you think or why you feel the way you feel, you have to look at it. And you have to shine the torch on it. And a lot of the first step is commitment, you know, saying yes to actually doing it. And that's the key there, you know, saying yes.
It is. You have to start with yes, and then you have to figure out what it is you want to do. So I want to do something. What am I going to do? Yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to do it. And then you do it. And
tomorrow I'm going to do it. What am I going to do? Oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. And it's just a constant. Yeah.
And you just keep up leveling whatever it is that you're doing, so you get more and more and more information about yourself. And then you can decide, when you've got the bigger picture, then you can decide, what do I want to do to change some of this? And then again, that's commitment. Am I going to commit to making the change? Is it worth it to me to make a change? Or am I happy to live with what I've got?
And yes, that's right. And so we meet an edge, don't we, in that sense? You know, there's this darkness that we're like, oh, do I want to torch through that and sort of, you know, expand that darkness, or and the darkness is not always shadow.
No, it's
Sometimes
not.
you can illuminate it, and there is so many miracles and blessings in every piece of that moment.
Yep.
You know? It can go down a whole merry path of that, but we're not going to do that.
No, we're not going to do that right now.
Jennifer, I'm going to ask you, you've given us some insight to figuring out the energy rhythm you knew from an early age. Is there any practical steps, just as Sue offered, that you could offer to our listeners that would be a way to figure out their rhythm?
Observation, like it's been said, finding out your baseline, just observing yourself throughout the day. You know, when you feel energized, when you feel low, you can track that in some way, like you said, through journaling or some kind of tracker, just noticing how you're feeling throughout the day, and then if you are tracking it, that would be ideal, because then you start to see the patterns. You start to notice what the patterns are, where you may, like I said, between 2 and 3, I dip every day. That's pretty consistent. So you start to notice that pattern over time if you're recording it. So that would be very helpful. What's also very helpful is when you're really just not even sure what your energy and rhythms are, then it's important to take the time away for a reset. So for me, one of my biggest spiritual practices as well is retreats, going on retreat. And it used to be personal silent retreats. Every weekend, once a month, I would do that for a number of years, a while back. And again, not doing that now, but I am feeling called back to it. So even if it's for a day or as much time as you can take to be back on your own, so you can come back to yourself and be able to really tune into your natural rhythms, so that you're away from any kind of regulated daily structure, other people's energy, so that you can be more in tune with what your energy is like and what you rhythmically move through in the day with your energy. And if that's not an option right now, then again, just observing, tracking that, and looking for the patterns.
I love that. I kind of, from everything that you said, I hear from that is slow down to speed up.
Yes.
You know, really just come back and slow down, like observe, be that observer, have that awareness in your system, right? Something needs to change. What is that? And then just slow down to actually work that out and go, right, well, what is it? And then from there, you can start to speed up, which is that processing. All right, so what's my next step? What's my next step? And then taking that action. So that's brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely. When you give yourself space to do that, then all of that clarity comes in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Totally 100%. Heather.
So I would, in short form, basically ditto Sue's world of tracking your awareness, even tracking the foods that you eat, because foods that you eat can greatly impact your energy levels. So track how big a meal you ate, track what was in it. Was there wheat? Was there dairy? Was there a whole bunch of preservatives? Was there MSG? Like, start seeing patterns, because physically what you put in your body, your environment physically, you know, are you working in a factory setting? Do you get to see the sun? All of those factors. Do you feel different on the weekend or your days off? All of those factors, that tracking that pattern that Jennifer's talking about is so empowering. And then you can see what are you able to shift, and listen to your intuition, how you can shift those things. Yes. When both of you ladies were talking, I kept on hearing, tell them this. And I was like, okay, well, this doesn't apply a little bit, and it does apply a lot in another way. And it's access consciousness tool, where you say, who does this belong to? And you send it back with consciousness. And it's similar to some of the empathy tools in terms of figuring out like what is yours and what is somebody else's, and that empath thing. A lot of times we're like quicker picker upper sponges, and we just want to suck it all in from the outside world. But our thoughts can be other people's thoughts, our feelings can be other people's feelings, our emotions can be other people's emotions, and our physical aches and pains can be other people's. So as far as the spiritual gym is concerned, and figuring out what your energy rhythm is, make sure you're not mimicking or following somebody else's energy rhythm. And so a simple tool is, who does this belong to? In that, the place it comes from. They say to say that to everything that crosses your path, whether it's a negative thought, whether it's an achy knee, whether it's a low energy pattern. It's like, who does this belong to? Like for 3 days straight. And they're like, your whole world can shift 90 degrees if you don't own the stuff that isn't yours.
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, I deal with empathy like Sue, and I'm sure there's 87 different ways that you can get down to, but for whatever reason, what was coming in my head was like, share that one. I was like, okay.
And
so
that's absolutely the perfect one to share, because it's so not our shit. You know,
There's
we
a lot
have,
that isn't. And
you know, our auric fields span 6 feet beyond our physical body. So, you know, even just in the space that you stand in this moment, how much other things are you touching? I can see a computer screen, I can see a lamp, I can see a plant. Like, my frequency is also touching their frequency. You know, so in a car with 3 other people, you're all going to be touching at some point somewhere in some part of your auric field. Empathically, you feel that and you go, oh, am I supposed to be thinking that? Because I don't think that's mine. It's having that beautiful awareness, being able to process it, and then going, that's not mine.
And don't judge it. Like, don't judge.
No, don't judge it at all. But just,
don't judge it.
I know so many times, and I find too, personally for myself and me and my husband, we're so connected energetically, you know, that he could be thinking something about work that's giving him the shits, and I suddenly feel like I've got the shits, and I'm like, wait, hang on a second, I'm good here. What the hell? You know?
Processing your shit, you process your own. Yeah.
And yeah, it's like having that awareness and then processing, go, hang on a second, I'm good here. This is not mine.
Yeah. Well, and you started us off on like bringing awareness to the need of the spiritual gym and the mental health. And if we realize that even our own mental health status, our energy rhythm, mental health wise or emotionally, can be greatly impacted by the energy or the frequency that the world is in. Well, everybody's processing their trauma currently in order to get through a sieve called 5G. Trauma won't go there. So what is ours, and what is the collective? What is our ancestries? What is our cultural trauma? So it's, who does it belong to?
Yeah, and doing that work, getting into that, like going to the gym, not to work out and deadlift, be able to deadlift 400 pounds and have a world record. We're talking here of like getting knee deep in your own snuff and going, right, I need to observe this, because this is not really, well, I'm not really liking this tour here of this life. It's not serving me very well. So what am I going to do to change it? You know,
and creating the space to figure out what is yours and what's everybody else.
So once you're in that awareness of shit's not working, I've got to step back. It's that slowing down to speed up, going out to connect. Yeah. We can't create a flow from heaven to earth if we're sending out, you know, so many different things. You know, if we're clear, then our energy becomes clear, and we actually, and by doing that, the only way to stop that zigzaggy flow is to slow down and allow that space, like you said, to open up that frequency of us and allow that channel to be observed. Thank you, ladies, for this conversation today. It's been absolutely fabulous. Now, just quickly before we go, I know that we are almost out of time, because I don't want to keep everyone. We are committed to the 1 hour. But just before we go, ladies, I would love for you to share your freebie, an offer that you have, something that you would like to share with the audience and the panelists today, if they are interested too, because the energy is high. What is it that you would like to share? Let's start with you, Jen.
I would like to share a guide for soul care, because soul care is essential.
Absolutely. We're in the spiritual gym here. We're thick in it.
Yes. And so I feel like the information that's contained in this guide can really support people in finding solace in everyday life.
Thank you.
To be able to restore that inner peace or harmony and to really engage in soul care. So I'd like to offer that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jennifer. That's beautiful. Sue.
So along the same line, there have been so many questions opened and so many different options offered. I would like to offer a free discovery session. It's about 60 to 90 minutes, and people can just bring their issue. They can bring their questions. We'll take time to unpack it. They'll leave with a blueprint. They'll leave with a step-by-step guide of next steps, and they'll leave with a new expectation for where they can take their lives. So that's a freebie. It's on my website. They just go to my website. It'll be in the links, and they go to the contact page, and there is a button on the contact page. Is also a button on the home page that says My Free Discovery Blueprint. So just click on that, set it up. I'd love to talk to anybody that wants to talk to me, and let's see if we can't get somebody moving in a direction they want to go in. That's
fantastic. Thank you, Sue. Heather, what would you like to offer today? She's on mute. Down in the bottom left corner.
Too funny. Yeah, sorry about the delay. Okay, so I have 17 minutes to Zen active meditation that I'd love to add to the freebie. I was just thinking, did I actually commit to something and I don't even remember what I committed to?
No, I do believe these panels are run, when I facilitate them, I run them quite intuitively. So if something comes up in the moment, then by all means, go with it.
So I'll give 17 minutes to Zen is on my store. I was just muttering over there to get a link for the chat. And I would also put out there, I have a tool called Shit Baskets that I would put in with the code Love Wins. And it is a way to give back the shit to anybody who needs it. And it's a download.
Oh, that's great.
So it just seems to fit with our conversation today.
Sorry, if you're not a fan of the cursey words, don't watch my episodes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you.
All right.
Beautiful. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me. I've loved this conversation. So many aha moments for myself too, and reminders. My Lord, we need them. Sophia, I'm going to hand it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison, and thank you for facilitating such a very a wonderful conversation. Absolutely wonderful, enlightening, empowering, and very awakening conversation. So thank you for that. It's been great. And I'd just like to thank all our beautiful panelists here, and of course Reshma, who is joining us in the audience. We have had quite a few people watching us. Do click on the links below for all these giveaways of all these beautiful women who have taken time out. Just very, very quickly, coming up tomorrow, no, not tomorrow, coming up next week, our beautiful Sue will be facilitating the differences between life balance and life harmony. That's coming up. And then the following week, Jennifer will be back to facilitate Room to Breathe. And again, those links are in the comments for the panel discussions. Now, before we go, Sue, would you like to tell us a little bit about your tribe that's in our sacred community?
My tribe is called Life Force Activators.
We can't hear you, Sue, at all. Your volume is gone.
Can you hear me now?
We can, yes.
Okay. Is that too loud or is that good enough?
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. So my tribe is called Life Force Activators. And we are a group of people who are excited about the vitality and the expression of life, the storytelling, the weave of life, the tapestry of life. And it's all done through joy. It's all done through experiential, hands-on little exercises. And it will be heading more and more towards storytelling and just sharing the vitality. So people see what it is, feel what it is, and embrace it, come back for more. So it's fun. We meet every 2 weeks, once every 2 weeks. And we will be resuming. We've been off on a hiatus for a little while, but we will be resuming the second week in February.
Yes,
So Life Force Activators, come and get activated.
Yes, thoroughly recommend that. And again, that link is in the comments underneath this video. And
Wonderful.
Jennifer is our beautiful one of our amazing blog writers, and all of her blogs are available on the links in the comments as well. And Alison, you've mentioned your Human Design Tribe. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my Human Design Tribe is a place for people to come and get to know themselves more, in the sense of we do some so this one, get your words out, Alison. Sometimes the words come through too quick. Sorry. Sue's giggling at me. The Human Design Tribe is there for women who are interested in knowing about themselves, getting for the bare baseline of knowing what type they are and how their energetic frequency operates in this world. For a lot of us, 70% of us are generators in this world. So there is a lot of sustainable life force energy that is projecting out into that collective consciousness. So we do bring part of that woo-woo conversation into the human design aspect, where, you know, your chakra system is also in your human design system. It's your defined and open centers. So when we talk about it, we blend spirituality with practicality and, you know, the terminology of human design. We have beautiful conversations, we do intuitive readings, and we learn and laugh a lot.
We do.
So yes, that's
yes,
more about the tribe.
And it's wonderful. And thank you for that. And of course, everyone who's watching, you can come and join us just for $1 Australian. Try out the Human Design Tribe. Try out Sue's Life Force Activators Tribe. Reshma, who's joining us today, also has Flourish with Freedom. We have over 20 tribes, special interest tribes, that you can try out for 3 weeks just for $1 Australian. And then after that, it's only 15 Australian dollars a month to come to any or all of the tribes if you want it. And we have ongoing new tribes coming up very, very soon too. So again, thank you, everyone. It has been an honor to be able to sit here and listen to all these wonderful things about the spiritual gym and keeping healthy mentally as well, and grounding and everything else. It's been an honor. So thank you. It's been beautiful.